Welcome back to the latest episode of the Key and Mang audio experience. I'm your host, Mang, as always, and my fellow co-host, Key. Key, what's Gucci?
What's up? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Lovely. Hungry but lovely.
Trust me. Hungry? I trust me. I hear you on that.
I'm trying to fast on the weekends because I'm home more often and I'm tempted to eat. And it kind of puts me over my calories. And it's not good for this cut. So
So it's like an intentional fast.
yeah. I'm gonna eat after this though.
Yeah, nah, I can't wait for tonight. I think we're doing salmon and mashed potatoes to break fast today.
Salmon?
Salmon and mashed potatoes. Yeah.
I love salmon.
Fire.
Yes,
We
yes, yes. What
we
we
have
got today?
we're talking about networking. And I think networking is a big word and it can be kind of intimidating, but we're gonna break it down to its like simplest terms to make it easier for you to reach out, whether it's over DMs or you're in person at an event. So I want y'all to take a second and think about if you ever stare at a DM and you're trying to think of the perfect sentence or perfect message to send out to somebody. You want to reach out to them, but you don't want to sound weird, desperate, or like you're selling something. So you type, delete, type again, and then it just sits there. You don't send it. Sound familiar? Anybody relate to that? I know I've done that before.
I do.
So the truth is, networking on social media isn't as complicated as we make it. You don't need a perfectly crafted message or some crazy introduction. It's more about building genuine human connections without being awkward or annoying. Let things kind of manifest itself through the course of the conversation, but it doesn't have to be awkward or annoying. So in this episode, we're breaking down how to confidently slide into the DMs the right way, build relationships online, and open doors to new opportunities, all without feeling like a weirdo.
Yeah.
So
I think that networking online is a little bit easier for people than in person just because I feel like online you don't have that nervousness that's happening in real time. Like you kind of can close out the message and then come back to it and kind of be more prepared. So when it comes to networking online, you really just want to build relationships through conversations. And this is where people get stuck because they're overthinking what they want to say. And it's not really about making an elevator pitch or anything like that. It's more so about making a genuine connection. And the best way to do that is to make the conversation about them and not about you, because people love to talk about themselves. So instead of worrying about saying the right thing, if you can shift your mindset and shift your focus to ask about them and get curious, it'll be easier for you to feel comfortable and pretty much put all the attention on them. So instead of reaching out for something specific, you can give them a compliment if they're doing something that you admire or that has gotten you intrigued. You can mention that and ask them to tell you more about what they have going on. And then they're pretty much gonna take it from there and expand upon that, and then that opens the door to have a conversation.
for sure. I think you hit on a big point of like people like to talk about themselves and they're expert in themselves and what they're doing. So if you can shift your questions to be more open-ended that allow for conversation to naturally occur by the person talking about whatever they're getting into, whether it's a project they're working on, how they create this piece of content or how they do this thing and let them expand on that, then I think you have a window to just keep following up, however much energy you have to continue following up. Um, but then you bring people's guards down as if once they see that you're a real person and you're interested in what they got going on, they're like, oh, this person's cool. This person makes me feel comfortable explaining what I'm doing. I don't have no problems with them. And then if it's like if you're trying to get an internship or something, or you're trying to um, work with somebody or something like that, then the ask gets easier because you've already built the trust, so to say, even though it's on an online platform or a DM. So I think instead of going for a cold call and just like, hey, can I intern with you without making any prior relationship, that's kind of your recipe for getting left on red or not getting a response. But you really got to take the time and show genuine interest in the person. And I like to, I don't know where I heard this from, but someone was talking about, you know how you ask somebody, like, if you're in person, you ask them, yo, what do you do? Like, I know in evals, like, I'll be like, yo, what do you do? I heard someone was like, don't ask them what they do because some people don't want to talk about work. They want to talk about work can be stressful. Work can be a lot of things, a lot of negative emotions that they don't want to talk about. But ask them, shift that question to ask them if there's something that they're excited about, excited to be working on. Um, you know what I mean? Like it's something that they're excited to be working on. Because then that shifts them. They could talk about work if they want to, if they enjoy work. Or they got another project that they're working on that they're really passionate about that they decide to um, tell you about. And then you've opened up a window of opportunities to ask more about the things that they're passionate about. And if you're passionate about something, it's going to be easier to talk about it because you enjoy what you're doing most of the time. Find out it's easier to talk to someone when they like what they do. So I like that for just when you're reaching out via DM or if you're in person at the same time. Let's figure out what they're working on, what they're passionate about, and then continue to expand from there.
Yeah, I like that one too. I kind of learned that people don't really like to talk about what they do for work
Mhm.
or work in general, just being a PT. But another thing on that I've used online that I didn't even know I was doing this until we were talking about this episode. But nowadays online, people are putting their thoughts online, and you get to see how people think. So if you have somebody that you're interested in connecting with and they've posted something that either you agree with or you want to learn more about, I think that that's an easy way into a conversation. Like you can say like, "Hey, I saw this post, like it resonated with me for XYZ reason," or you can even ask them like to elaborate on it in a specific way. And because they posted it, it's likely something they feel strongly about, so they're gonna want to elaborate on that. And that's an easy way into a conversation. And I've done that even not even in the DMs, but in comments and people um appreciate the question and they enjoy talking about it. So you get a good response and then you build a connection that way.
Facts. Now, for my introverts, my fellow introverts out there who maybe don't like being in big crowds like myself, gets takes a lot of energy trying to think about how, but we understand it's important to still, you have to build relationships to be able to thrive in the world. People got to know who you are, you got to know who people are. So we have to be able to network and get to let people know what we do and what we can offer. So I think kind of like what you just mentioned, if even if you're not in the DMs, but even commenting on posts or that helps their engagement, it helps their algorithm get out to more people if you're commenting on their stuff. Um, DMs, same, you can just garner conversation from there. Voice notes are useful in the DM, so you can get a lot of thoughts out and they can kind of hear that you're a person and not just using not just typing, but they can like put a name to a voice and get to know how you articulate things. And then even lastly, if you have an email list, that's your way to mass communicate to new people, people in your community. Let them know what you've been up to, let them know what you got going on, what events are popping off, or when things are happening. That's your way to send out a message to a lot of people at one time. So then you don't have to send it out to 1,000 people individually. You got one platform where you can just send your message across, and then it becomes more manageable to then respond because it's all coming to the same place, and you can likely going to be seeing the similar questions, and then you can decide how you're going to attack that, whether it's a more detailed post in the future or a follow-up email about that specific question. I think you got ways to, even if you're like, don't like being in big outings, but I think those are ways that you can um, still work on networking and getting messages across and meeting new people.
Another thing for not just introverts, but just anybody on social media, um, the stories. Like when people post stories, they're typically posting things that are different from their feed and typically post things that they don't want to stay on their feed. So it's a little bit more intimate in a way. And swiping up and starting a conversation there is a good way to make connections. And if you do that enough times, obviously in a natural way, you and that person can form some type of relationship, right? And then as you are commenting on their stories, if you're at the top of their inbox and your little thing is lit up orange, they're going to click on it. And that's just a good way to get them to see what you're doing too, naturally. So that's a little cheat code. And then when it comes to extroverts, I don't think I'm an extrovert, but in-person connections, I think my friends always tell me they always tell me like you always say you don't like people, but you're always talking to people, and and I'm like, yeah, but that's because if I'm out in like in person and I see something that either makes me curious or something I actually think is cool, I'll go up to you and ask that or mention it, compliment the person, and then we just start talking. So if you're in the in-person situation, you can you don't have to go up and necessarily introduce yourself. You can like keep it all about them, and then that introduction will come naturally, and it's just an easy way to start a conversation. So that's my way of doing that in person. I don't really like to be around a big groups of people and be like going up to people randomly, but that's my way of opening the door and creating the connection.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you on this. I feel like for me and in person, I will talk if I have to talk. If I'm really intrigued in something, I will go ask or go talk to somebody. I'll usually pull up now when I pull up to conferences, a lot of my friends will go to the same conferences. It's like what the things that we're interested in, and then they'll go talk and I'll follow along and then I'll loop into conversations that way. So that's my cheat code. But if it comes to it and I'm like by myself, I'm solo and I'm really curious about something, I will go up. But I like to just, when I'm in big events, I like to people watch. I like to just see if I can see what people are talking about and I'll just hop into a conversation and see if I can like listen, learn, contribute if I have to. But yeah, in-person events are they're fun because you get to meet a lot of people maybe you see online, but they do take a lot of energy and I think it's cool to put name to face. And if you've been creating that relationship over socials and to be able to meet them in real time, it's almost like you've known them for a minute because y'all have been conversing over socials.
Yeah, and then also I know people like to like when you're feeling like you want to network or you want to get better at communication, you think of ways that you can do this. And I think a good way to get started is to kind of create experiments or make things a game. Like, say, if you are going to be in person at an event, like try to start a conversation with X amount of people. And I think the more that you do that, the more comfortable you get, and then it kind of becomes more natural. So pretty much stepping out of your comfort zone with experiments and kind of making it a game and being curious. I feel like that makes it a lot easier and less overwhelming and daunting than going to the event and being like, oh my God, I'm going to be around all these people. Like, get curious, and try to make it a game. And I think just doing it that way makes you a little bit at ease, and makes you more willing to want to continue to do that.
For sure, for sure. And I think for like even for us having a podcast, I don't we don't get in our feels about reaching out to people and they don't respond. I don't think you can get in your feels if someone does not respond to you. A lot of like people are busy, people got things that they got going on. If you reach out to someone, have a genuine message and they don't respond, that's okay. You can send another one. But I know for us, we have like we'll think about who we want to reach out to on the pod, and some of these are like big names who, like they got big followings and you don't expect them to see your message, but you send it anyway, just for the happen chance that they decide to um see it and respond, then you never know who you can link up with and get connected with. And we've got lucky with some of the guests that we have, people you don't think they're gonna respond at all, and they're like, yeah, sure. People that you just like what they post, you like what they're about, you like their content, and trying to pitch that in your message, I think has been helpful for us getting guests on the pod. And I think it's also a way to just meet new people and get in a new realm because a lot of like if you in healthcare or personal training, you it's like to stay in your zone, but reaching out to like Brennan, Budget Dog. We ain't in his world, but he said yes to being on the podcast and he introduced us to a whole new world of financial like in the financial space. So you just never know who you might be fortunate enough to meet and the timing might work out and the opportunities might present themselves and just continue to like don't be mad if you send out 100 DMs and you get zero responses. Like keep sending out DMs. People are going to see it if you stay consistent with it, if you keep interacting with their stuff. So I think just don't get in your feels. Don't take it any type of way if you get left on red. It's all right. Like people are busy. People got lives. People are human.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also the more messages you send, the better you get at it. So, like at first, the messages you send may be really shitty, honestly. But the more you do it and you craft your message, it's gonna get better. And then that's going to help you improve your communication skills, which is a skill that's transferable to anything in life, especially in 2025. Being able to communicate and get your message across and get people to actually like not just understand you, but resonate with what you're saying and be attracted to what you're saying is really important. So look at it from a more like generic view as opposed to thinking of like, hey, I just want to network with this person. Like think of it in the sense of how it's benefiting you. And then
Facts.
if you do that, you're not going to be mad about them not responding because you're just putting in the reps for yourself.
Yep. I like that. I like that. So I think a good place to leave this conversation today is to challenge everybody listening to reach out to one new person this week. Someone who you admire, someone you like what they're doing, someone that is maybe where you want to be, and you reach out to them. If you don't get a message, that's fine. Keep interacting with their stuff. Reach out to another person the next week, but just slowly start reaching out to people, honing in on your message, honing in on being genuine, being a good person. And even if like in your real life interactions, when you interact with somebody, try and focus on being interested in them. There will come a time where they will shift it. You keep asking about them, they will shift it to asking about you because you're throwing so much attention at them and you're focused and you're listening. Then they will shift the conversation back to you, and that's going to be your opportunity to talk and explain what you do. But I think right now, just focus on being intentional with your listening, intentional with what you're trying to get out of the conversation, and I think that'll take you very, very far.
I agree. With that being said, if you're watching on YouTube, give us a subscribe, comment your networking tips in the comments if you guys have any. And if you're listening on any podcast services, give us a review and a 5-star rating. We appreciate that. And with that being said, we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.